known for. The title of this session is very wordy. Promising Problems of Data-Driven Education, One School Solution, Implementing Teacher, and on and on and on. That is not the real title. It's not. But that's the official title that you have to put on to look more serious, because this is actually the real title of what I am talking about today. How I finally stopped lying about data and started actually using it. But liar is a horrible word, and one that I don't like attributing to myself, and so I went and looked in a thesaurus for a better word to describe liar, and I found a great one. Okay? No, this is a great word. I never learned it before. The word is fabulous. Fabulous. It's a good word, huh? It is a synonym for liar. It almost makes it sound like an awesome thing to be. I think fabulous is the perfect synonym for liar because the way it sounds is deceptive about being deceptive. Great word. Go home and use it from here on out. So I'm admitting today that I have been somewhat of a fabulist in the past, but let me tell you my story so that you understand why I ever found myself in a situation where being fabulistic was even an option. So prior to 2009, I'd only dipped my toes into the online teaching waters. That is the year that I came on as a mathematics teacher at Open High School of Utah. Prior to that, my only experience was being online, not in teaching, was working as a facilitator for a university, teaching an introductory class to mathematics undergrads. And let me tell you what that consisted of. I ran a rather lame chat once a week, and I answered emails. So given that depth of online experience, I applied for and got the job at Open High School of Utah because even though I knew nothing about what was involved in it, I knew how to make nothing sound like something pretty awesome because I'm a math teacher and that's what we do for a living. Just over a year later, I found myself, it was 2010, at the IMACOL Virtual School Symposium. Now our little school, in year 2 of operation, was there to do a presentation. And I had a very tiny blurb, just a few minutes, in a presentation on OER. Now, when I got to the symposium, what I found out is that there was another presentation that had our name on it. David Wiley had another presentation that had my name and Delana Tonks, right back here, wave your hand, Delana. Our names was on that, were also on that presentation that we did not know about until we arrived. Now, David is a very skilled presenter. You guys are most of you are very familiar with him. And he can get up there with a slide deck and knock it out of the park. So he came to us the night before and said, oh, I've got this, I'm working on my slides right now. And he was, what do you got, Sarah and Delana? What do you have? And we had nothing. We didn't know we were going to be involved in it. The description, this was the name of the particular session, How to Capture and Leverage Data to Improve Student Learning, with the description in the program book being Amazon, Netflix, and the grocery store collect, analyze, and effectively use more data than most schools. This session will show how to capture, analyze, and use data to support innovative learning, innovative teaching that improves student learning. Come and see how learning analytics can support data-driven teaching. Yes, come and see, because I was so prepared to speak and teach about this. I remember having some very panicked discussions with Delana. We had 1 year of school under our belt. We had just switched LMSs 3 months previously, and you can guess how well versed we were in using it at that point. We were so underqualified to speak on capturing and leveraging student data that we actually considered just skipping out and letting David wing it on his own. We could have done it. He would have done just fine. But Dee convinced me over there to show up, and we did show up to a packed room, standing room only. It was a small room, okay? I will admit, it wasn't a large room, but it was standing room only. And I had my first experience that day being fabulous on the job. And I got up there and I talked about data. I talked about qualitative data. I talked about quantitative data. I did reports and tables and charts. And they loved it. We did. They loved it so much, this stuff I was just spouting, they asked and do it again. A few weeks later, they asked Elena and David and I to do a webinar, a web version of the same session. Now, I'm not such a fabulous person, fabulous, if you came in late, to sit in for liar, fabulous person that I didn't prepare the second time around. So I went into Moodle, it's our LMS, and I dug around, and I found real reports and real things we could look at, and it was fine. But the problem was, we weren't actually using or doing any of the things that we were talking about. And it was still all razzle-dazzle. Now, it is, and I probably described that maybe 100% of the people attending this conference are this: we are great idea generators. That's all we do at these conferences. We are great idea generators. It's better than just being an idea generator, which is even easier. We are great idea generators. Who in this room has had to been the person who's ever had to put great ideas into place? How hard is that? That is the harder thing. So I was getting up and I was giving great ideas, but none of them stayed in, we weren't doing any of them. They never reached reality land. It was in the great land of great ideas. So that's where we were stuck at as a school. We could generate ideas, we could talk about those ideas, we weren't truly acting on them. And that's the problem with data. You can talk about it all you want, but if you're not really using it, there's no point to what's going on. So fast forward to 2013, I am coming clean. And I can come clean now because we can finally back up what we were selling back in 2010 about using data. Now let me get this clear, because I have a lot of our teachers in this room. Our teachers are not fabulists. Our teachers have been fabulous. They have been using data the past 4 years. The problem is, as an institution, we were not doing it effectively, and we were not doing it cohesively. So that's our data backstory, but it's also, before I get into a little more of what we're doing now, it's important to know why data is important to online learning, and that has to all do with instructional design. Because if you're interested in data, you are interested in instructional design. Because the whole point of gathering data is to improve what's going on in the instruction and in the curriculum. That's what data is for. Instructional design is the process of trying to maximize the effectiveness, the efficiency of your instruction. There are a lot of design models out there, but the one that most of us are familiar with is the ADDIE model. Yeah, you remember this from college? It's very time intensive. It has all of these steps. They talk about a lot. We learned about ADDIE a lot in our undergraduate and our postgraduate programs. A lot of us did. But how I feel about ADDIE is one of the things they taught me about and they talked a lot about, but we did nothing with. And this e-card right here is kind of how I feel about ADDIE. That's about how much I used it in real life. And this next one also explains a little bit how I feel about ADDIE. Because if you actually make it through the circular maze and steps of ADDIE, you may make it to the center and you won't know if you feel like Theseus or the Minotaur, depending on what your final product looks like. But this is my feelings about the ADDIE process as an educator. I won't just criticize ADDIE without giving you an alternative of what we are doing as a school. Because if any of you, and I'd say all of you, have any impact of what the curriculum or the instruction looks like, and that includes looking at the data, being a curriculum designer, being a tech person, being an administrator, that is all of you. You are instructional designers. Every single one of you is an instructional designer. But I'm going to give you another label today, now that you're being labeled. I am going to call you an innovator, because that is what you are, because you wouldn't be here if you were not. You like data. You walked in a room that had data in the name of the session. Bless you. Bless you for walking in. You want to use data, but you don't want to use it in the patented Sarah Weston razzle-dazzle method or as an academic exercise. You want to use it for real. Here's what Michael Quinn in his book Developmental Education has to say about you, the innovators. Innovators are often different from people implementing typical programs. Innovators are in a hurry, value rapid, real-time feedback, and have a high tolerance for ambiguity, embrace uncertainty, learn quickly, and adapt rapidly to changed conditions. They're not always sure where they're heading, So they resist being boxed in by concrete, preset targets. They're propelled into action more by vision than by clear and specific measurable outcomes. They want an evaluation approach attuned to their fast pace and their innovative spirit. There you go. That describes you. It has to. But as a school, we realized that the ADDIE approach was not a good fit for us. We did not have the patience to navigate those ADDIE steps and slay the Minotaur. We just did not sit well with us as a school. So we labeled the way we do our instructional design a term that's out there called rapid instructional design. And rapid instructional design, isn't that awesome? That's us right there. Okay? It's described as just-in-time instructional design. It defines a process to help to reduce the time involved in instructional design. It can be thought of hiding the complexity of instructional design within the relative simplicity of a planner or a template. The people involved in this are, in this case in education, the instructors or teachers themselves. And the whole point of it is you need the user, the instructor, to value what's happening, and that will happen by two reasons. The perceived value will be based on whether they see an impact from what they are doing. They personally see an impact of what they are doing. And number two, is their time valued? Is there a time savings for them? Is it worth what they're doing? So this theory of rapid instructional design, it's the framework for the solution we as a school have put into place. And I'm going to show you what we were doing, what we are doing, and what we hope to do in the future as we've been inspired by some of the things that we have learned from you guys out there. So I'm going to take you back to our past here. Ooh, this is the ghosts of data past. I am going to recreate for you how our professional development meetings went on teaching our instructors to use and analyze data. And it went like this. Hey, look at this report. Have you seen this report? And don't forget this report. Oh, this is my favorite report. Let's go through and analyze questions and look at R counts and standard deviation and stuff that only 1 in 500 teachers would know what it means, but let's point it out and make it look important. I didn't say all the rest of that in the professional development. The hey, look at this report was pretty much it. That is what we did. That wasn't a horrible start. Well, okay, it's pretty horrible, but it's not 100% horrible. But again, the whole problem is what we were doing is we were pointing teachers to things, and that's where we were leaving it at. We didn't have anywhere we went to from there. Which now I bring you to the present. Here we are. We're at the present. I can't wait to the future. How awesome. Here we go. We are using this theory of rapid instructional design to affect what we're doing here. And what we are using is a quarterly course evaluation form. Now this is low tech. I know this is a tech crowd. We're actually using something low tech. This is a Google Doc. It is a form that our teachers are using at the end of each quarter. We work in 9-week quarters. So again, it's just in time. We're not asking instructors to do an evaluation at the end of an entire school year. How do they remember what happened back in September? It's not meaningful. It needs to be just in time. So they're doing it at the end of each quarter. It's part of their turning in grades. It's part of their end of term workflow. We estimate it takes between 30 to 45 minutes to do. This is important if you're putting in a process like this. It is not super time consuming because they have other things to do. If you want buy-in, it needs to be reasonable. The form itself has all the instructions and reminders for getting through the process. This is the thing that teachers would be doing 4 times a year. It is not their day-to-day task, so as they come back to it each time, they'll become more and more familiar with the process, but they having the steps right there of where to look, how to calculate some of the data, which reports to go to, what they should look for inside the reports. This is important to help them through the process. The planner looks like this. These are the instructions that are on each of on the form. It's unique to our SIS and our LMS, so I won't go through all of this. But again, I mean, we're telling them where to go to calculate, where to find their grade distributions, which reports to look at, what they should look at when they're there. Then they go and they fill this out. This is the top of it, their number of enrollments, the average minutes the students have spent in class per student. Again, we've already told them how to calculate that. It's out in the instructions so they're not guessing. Their grade distribution. And then they do this. They identify 2 resources or activities that were successful. But they have to define successful and give data to back it up. Where's that data coming from? Where we have sent them to before. So we're not telling them just where to go, now we're saying where to go, what to look for, and now they're going to have to think about it, teachers. They have to do it again for things that were unsuccessful. Again, notice there's only 2 things. A teacher could probably give you, 4, 5, 10 things that went well or didn't go well, but it cannot be an overwhelming process. This is something that can happen over a long period of time. If we're doing this review again and again and again over the years, we will start catching all of those things. So it's okay to be patient, because you can't overwhelm your instructors. Then they go and they need to, given what they found, and then also their grade analysis, they have to identify any patterns they saw in grades, their student performance and participation, and here is the most important part. They need to write up an action plan. Now this action plan is usually just 1, 2, possibly 3 things. That's it, of what they're going to do to improve that course, that instruction, those 9 weeks, very, very specific. Now, this is the look that teachers usually give you when you give them a new workflow or a new policy. And my teachers are fabulous, but guess what? We still got this reaction, and I completely expected it, because it's a whole other thing just to add to their plate, and heavens, they do a lot. So this is the reaction you often get. The whole entire point, let me go back to that. I should tell you what happens to the reports. The reports are then gone over as in the department, and then as an administration, we keep a record of all of those reports by course and by section, not by teacher. Because, we're not attaching to the teacher, we're attaching to the course, so that over time, as people come in and take different courses, they can see a history of what's been happening. And they can start looking at long-term patterns as opposed to just 9-week patterns. So that's our goal of what's going to be happening. You want with rapid instructional design for your users, your teachers, to see the value. That it's a worthwhile use of their time. And I think we have hit upon something that is getting there. It's not perfect, but it's getting there. I'm going to show you an email that one of our teachers sent to us after her first time going through this. This is an English teacher, and again, we're K-12, okay? We're not, this isn't college level or university teachers. Not that you guys are higher, but you think more on a research level than the K-12. We think about students and, well, that's insulting. I'm just going to stop. Okay, so this is what the teacher said. So I went a little crazy, I'm sorry. On my course evaluation form, I sat down and gave myself 20 minutes. Did you catch this? The teacher assigned a time value to this. And in her head, it wasn't going to take that long. That's good. 20 minutes to finish it, but came across a discovery that surprised and fascinated me. I had a nap followed by caffeine today, so it's quite possible I'm a little overexcited right now. In this section, I discussed my findings on a collaboration project that really surprised me, and one I think might be conducive to a future presentation / research paper / further study in online collaborative projects. Will you please let me know if you think this warrants pursuing? I may just be hyped up on caffeine right now. This was a high school English teacher coming in saying, oh, this could be like a research project. You know how many times I've heard that in K-12 education? 1, this was it. This is not a math teacher, not a science teacher, someone who got into data and was so excited about it that she sent us this email. I don't have the time on it. I think this came in like at 1 a.m. at night, if I remember right. I don't have a lot of time to go through an actual filled out sheet, but I just want to show you real quickly what hers looked like. This is way longer than we require, that's for certain. But when she goes through again, she's identifying some of the things that she found were successful, and she gives data from the reports and then also her own qualitative data. She found a quiz that didn't work very well. The average score was 54%. Now this is kind of cool, because a lot of times the teacher, you have a quiz that gets really low performance, and in your head you say this, that quiz was bad. And it stops there because you move on to what's going to happen next. But now, because of this, the teachers went to the next level. They're like, okay, well, it was bad. Why was it bad? Oh, well, so she said, I had a research paper from the week before that I extended the deadline on that the students were all working on, so they didn't get to the content on this quiz, and we should have maybe done more live discussions. So she goes through and does this kind of thing, and this is what excites me. So this is what we're doing now. We've only been doing it for less than a year. We're still waiting to see how this happens and what comes for it. But the future, where would we like to go next? David played a role in pushing me up and talking about data in a session I knew nothing about, and he's kind of playing a role too in the direction that we are looking as a school of what we'd like to do with our data analysis. Now, Lumen right there, which you've heard him talk about, works with colleges and university on OER adoption, finding quality content, we're doing faculty support, and then here's what we've been influenced by: improving student outcomes via analytics. And this is where it gets interesting. Lumen is either working on or already has in process, I don't know, automating some of the data analysis process. And I want to show you what they're working on. Now, as much as I love the idea of the teacher being the one doing the data digging and the data analysis, that is a huge barrier of entry for a lot of teachers, especially when your faculty gets large. So it's not I don't know that it's scalable for a large institution, but this is what they're doing. They have a thing where they do a pre-semester review. These are mock-ups, by the way. This isn't formal. They do a pre-semester review for courses, but here's where it's more interesting. They take a look at the data, and this part is automated. They identify which pieces were effective and which were not, and why. This is an automated component. I'm going to skip through this. Oh, you can't turn it. Shh. Because that's what we're really doing, but not what you think. Okay? If you go and you Google data analytics and LMSs, you'll find that it's there's a lot of companies that put a lot of money into finding a plug-and-play solution for data analysis. It's huge. And I think that's great, and there's a place for it. But the problem with that is it's a top-down approach. It's like a Wizard of Oz head spitting out reports and saying, you know, this is good, bad, or needs improvement. And that's helpful, except for the fact that I don't know it has an impact on where it really needs to happen, on the instruction. Which is why we are looking at a combination of using a ground-up approach too, because the instructors need to be invested in the data analysis. They are the ones who are working with the curriculum themselves. An executive report top-down is good in admin meetings and on board reports, but if it's not affecting the curriculum and therefore student outcomes, it's kind of an academic exercise, which is not useful. So this picture describes what we see ourselves doing, not literally. We like the combination of the automation component with the teacher-driven analysis, sort of a marriage between the best of analog and digital. And that's the direction that we were looking to head as a school. So that is our data story. Our particular approach to data is not necessarily lightning in a bottle for us or for any of you, but the whole entire point of sharing it with you today is to hopefully spark some lightning of your own for your teams and institutions here. Thank you. Questions? Okay, look at that Google form, it's right through here. I don't have the link to the filled out one. I didn't realize people would be interested in that. I had some people ask for me before, so you can just email me and I can show you what the teachers have been doing in their evals. Yes?
You're teaching online classes, so the students' hours that they spend, how do you know that's close to even accurate or desirable?
Okay, well, it's an algorithm. We pull it from our LMS. The LMS, I mean, it's tracking clicks. The algorithm allows a little bit of fudge factor because obviously they leave within the LMS. It's not tracking that. So it is not exact, but it gives us a ballpark. Whenever I talk to parents, I'm always saying, you know, 6 hours is never 60 minutes. I mean, so there is a fudge factor. It's not exact, but it's okay. As a K-12, we do need to have an idea of how much time students are spending in class.
And the goal is more time?
No, no. In fact, we don't even pay attention to it unless you see a correlation between spending tons of time and low performance. Or if you see no time and low performance, we kind of expect that correlation.
Thanks.
And you're all hungry for lunch? Get on out of here. If you have questions, you can talk to any of our school that's here. Thanks.